Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching World Today. Now before we begin, here are today's top stories. 7 Malaysian lawyers representing Sentra have arrived in Tripoli, Lebanon for a legal mission to gather evidence from war victims. According to activist Zainal Rashid Ahmad, the team will work with more than 50 international human rights lawyers to document alleged war crimes and prepare files for possible action at the International Criminal Court. Iran and the United States have agreed to halt recent hostilities in the Gulf and return to talks after days of strikes threatened a 17th June interim ceasefire. The two sides are expected to meet Tuesday in Qatar, shifting the focus from Iran's nuclear program to the dispute over the Strait of Hormuz. The WHO says more than 1,300 deaths have been recorded in Europe since 21st June amid a record-breaking heat wave. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warned that extreme heat is a silent killer, with homes, schools and workplaces unprepared. He urged European countries to implement heat health action plans as climate change drives more frequent heat waves. 11 people have been killed after a skydiving plane crashed shortly after takeoff in eastern France. The crash happened near the Essenossi Aerodrome in Toblain, killing 5 instructors, 5 nursing students and the pilot. France's Aviation Safety Agency says it is the country's deadliest general aviation accident. A technical investigation is now underway. Canada are through to the World Cup last 16 for the first time after a dramatic 1-0 win over South Africa in Los Angeles. Stephen Estaquio struck in stoppage time, firing home from outside the box. Canada now face either the Netherlands or Morocco in Houston on 4th July. A group of Malaysian lawyers have arrived in Lebanon as part of an international effort to gather evidence for possible war crimes proceedings linked to Israeli attacks. The lawyers representing the NGO Sentra have arrived in Tripoli for what is being described as a legal and humanitarian mission. According to activist Zainal Rashid Ahmad, who is accompanying the delegation, Sentra is joining more than 50 human rights lawyers and activists from France, Poland, Indonesia and Lebanon. Their task is to gather detailed testimonies and documentation on alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. The evidence is expected to support efforts to prepare legal files for possible action at the International Criminal Court. Zainal Rashid said the Malaysian team will be on the ground for 1 week and is expected to collect evidence from around 100 witnesses. He said the witnesses are among displaced communities in Lebanon, where many families have lost relatives, homes and livelihoods. The delegation is hoping to be assigned to areas such as Nabatiyah or Dahiyeh, described in the post as among the worst hit locations. Zainal Rashid said the mission marks a new direction for Malaysia's humanitarian movement, moving beyond food and medical relief toward legal action and international accountability. The Israeli army claimed it had destroyed an extensive tunnel built by Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, with Lebanese state media reporting strikes in the area. The attacks came despite a trilateral framework agreement signed by Lebanon and Israel under U.S. sponsorship to pave the way for peace between the two parties. Israel claimed the tunnel, stretching more than 200 meters and reaching a depth of over 25 meters, contained hundreds of weapons as well as several launch shafts. Israel said it informed the U.S. and the U.S. representative in Lebanon in advance of the destruction of the infrastructure. Lebanon's national news agency reported several strikes, including on the southern city of Nabatiyah, with the health ministry saying 2 people were wounded by an Israeli stun grenade in the south. The incident, in the first such detonation since the agreement, came a day after 1 person was killed in an Israeli strike on the south. Hezbollah strongly opposed the talks with Israel from the start and rejects the deal. Its lawmaker, Hassan Fadilallah, said what the authorities have done amounts to sedition aimed at pushing the country into chaos. Iran and the U.S. have agreed to halt recent hostilities in the Gulf and renew talks regarding their dispute over the Strait of Hormuz. It is a move that could end tit-for-tat strikes that had threatened to unravel in an interim peace agreement. The two sides reportedly plan to meet on Tuesday in Qatar. The meeting had initially been scheduled for Switzerland to discuss Iran's nuclear program, but the latest escalation prompted a change of venue to Doha and shifted the focus to the Strait of Hormuz. A return to diplomacy would follow several days of strikes and counter-strikes, with both the U.S. and Iran accusing the other of breaking an interim ceasefire that was agreed on 17 June. Iran yesterday launched missiles and drones at U.S. military sites in Kuwait and Bahrain after the U.S. military struck Iran again, hours after a tanker was hit in the Strait of Hormuz. The 14-point interim peace accord was meant to halt the fighting and reopen the Strait of Hormuz while talks proceeded on issues such as Iran's nuclear program. On a related note, Iran's top diplomat Abbas Araghchi has warned that any attempt by shipping to bypass its preferred route through the Strait of Hormuz would increase tensions in West Asia. Tehran was angered with this week by Oman's announcement of an alternative route through the strait that hugs the Omani shoreline. The strait comprises Omani and Iranian territorial waters, but under customary international law, the two cannot generally block passage or charge tolls. At the moment, Iran insists ships transiting the strait pass through a corridor close to its own shores. However, this week, dozens of vessels have traveled along the opposite side of the waterway, hugging the Omani coast. Araghchi said any attempt to adopt new or separate arrangements compared to what it is underway by Iran will only lead to more complicated situations and delays in the reopening of the strait. He added Iran will define the future administration of the strait in dialogue with Oman and the other Gulf states, but in line with international law. Mohammad Mokhber, advisor to Iran's supreme leader, said as long as Iran manages the strait, Washington's hegemonic dreams in the region will not be realized. Russian President Vladimir Putin acknowledged that the country is suffering from a certain shortage of fuel after repeated Ukrainian strikes in the four-year war. Now, Kyiv calls the attacks fair retribution for Russia's near-daily barrages of Ukrainian civilians and energy infrastructure. Putin said the attacks on critical infrastructure create problems, including a shortage of fuel, but it is not critical. He noted that the main task now is to increase Russian anti-aircraft defense capacity and to ensure sufficient fuel supplies, particularly to Crimea.
Вместе с тем, вы хорошо знаете, что проблемы и для автомобилистов, и для бизнеса сохраняются. И очереди, к сожалению, тоже на заправках есть. Ну, и нужную марку бензина не всегда сейчас можно найти. И, конечно, мы понимаем те сложности, с которыми сталкиваются сельхозпроизводители, фермерские хозяйства в летний период.
Putin also said that he is expecting a team of U.S. negotiators to come to Moscow to discuss ending the Ukraine war once Washington is no longer so preoccupied with Iran and the West Asia conflict. He added Russia is ready to continue negotiations and discuss all the details. The World Health Organization said over 1,300 excess deaths had been recorded in Europe since 21st June in connection with a record-breaking heat wave roasting much of the continent. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said heat stress is often called the silent killer, and European homes, workplaces, and schools are not built for these temperatures. He warned that millions of people across the continent are currently living under extreme heat, schools are shut, and grids are buckling. Driven by climate change and global warming, he said the phenomenon of the once-in-a-generation heat wave is now occurring nearly annually. He pointed out that Europe is the fastest warming continent on Earth, heating at twice the global average. He added the WHO is working with its member states and partners to address the heat threats posed by extreme heat through focusing on preparedness, prevention and stronger health system responses. He called on European countries to implement heat health action plans as part of a push to safeguard health in the face of climate change. Over in Poland, the country recorded the highest temperature since records began, with the mercury reaching 40.5 degrees Celsius in the western border town of Sublice. The temperature surpassed the previous national record of 40.2 degrees Celsius, which had stood since 1921. The reading also exceeded the country's previous June record of 38.9 degrees Celsius, which had been set only a day earlier in Sublice. The government issued a nationwide safety alerts, urging residents to avoid prolonged exposure to the sun, drinking plenty of water, and limit strenuous physical activity. Meteorologists warned that severe thunderstorms could follow the extreme heat as cooler air moved into the country this week. Coming up next, France skydiving plane crash kills 11, probe launched.
Guna mentol jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
A skydiving plane crashed in eastern France, killing all 11 people on board, including a group of nurses in the country's deadliest ever general aviation accident. The crash in the town of Dublin killed 5 instructors, 5 students who were nurses, and the pilot. Mayor of the nearby city of Nancy, Matthew Klein, said the victims died in full view of their loved ones who were preparing to film the tandem skydives. The aircraft, a Pilatus registered in Germany, crashed shortly after takeoff in a grassy area near the runway of Essay-le-Nancy Aerodrome, close to the residential area and 2 roads.
Rapidement, notamment les sapeurs-pompiers que je salue sont intervenus très rapidement. Malheureusement, dès leur arrivée, que ce soit les sapeurs-pompiers, les policiers, les constatations ont été que les personnes étaient décédées.
According to France's Aviation Safety Agency, the incident is the most serious general aviation accident in terms of loss of life, excluding military and commercial aviation. The cause of the incident was not immediately clear, and a technical investigation has been opened. A helicopter crash in Saudi Arabia killed 14 Saudi citizens, and the Saudi press agency, citing an official at the Energy Ministry, said the aircraft, which belonged to state oil giant Aramco, crashed in Ras Tanura in the country's east. Ras Tanura is home to one of the largest refineries in West Asia, with a capacity of 550,000 barrels per day, and is critical to Saudi Arabia's energy sector. The news agency said an investigation is underway to determine the cause of the crash, with the preparation of relevant authorities. The deadly accident comes as oil-rich Gulf nations seek to ramp up the output following the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway for the export of oil and gas. The Gulf monarchy did not indicate the incident was in any way connected to a hostile attack. Aramco said it operates more than 60 aircraft, including helicopters serving more than 300 heliports in Saudi Arabia, making it one of the largest corporate fleets in the region. The China Earthquake Administration has initiated a level 3 emergency response after an earthquake with a magnitude of 5.5 jolted Gaojian County, Yibin City in southwest China's Sichuan province. China has a 4-tier emergency response system, with level 1 being the most severe response. The epicenter was monitored at 28.50 degrees north latitude and 104.69 degrees east longitude, with a depth of 6 kilometers. Residents in Gaojian County and neighboring Gongjian County reported strong tremors, with furniture visibly displaced indoors. Tremors were also felt in Yibin and Chengdu, the capital city of Sichuan. 13 people sustained minor injuries, but no fatalities have been reported so far. The injured have been sent to hospitals for the treatment, and about 196 others have been relocated. An official from Gaojian County said local authorities are assessing the impact of the earthquake. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced the launch of a new platform to support continental health emergency capabilities amid the Ebola virus outbreak in the region. Dubbed the Joint Continental Incident Management Support Team, the platform was launched in partnership with the World Health Organization Regional Office for Africa and the Ugandan government. The platform establishes a unified operational framework to strengthen Africa's capacity to prepare for, coordinate, and respond to public health emergencies while supporting the Bundibugyo Ebola virus disease response. It will support Congo, Uganda, and neighboring at-risk countries through integrated technical assistance, operational coordination, and multidisciplinary expertise. It also reinforces regional preparedness and cross-border collaboration as essential pillars of Africa's health security. South Korea and Japan reaffirmed their commitment to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and agreed to revive joint search and rescue drills in a step forward for security ties between the neighboring countries. Meeting in Seoul, South Korean Defense Minister Gyu-bak and his Japanese counterpart Shinjiro Koizumi agreed to work on regional stability bilaterally as well as through their partnerships with Washington.
그래서 한일 고위 관계자가 빈번하게 만나고 전략적 소통을 하는 것은 한일 관계의 긍정적인 발전상의 시그널이라고 생각합니다.
The renewed commitment by the two defense chiefs to rid the peninsula of nuclear weapons, however, comes as Pyongyang has recently vowed to retain and expand its nuclear arsenal. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un vowed that his country would equip its navy with nuclear weapons and build larger warships. A few thousand people rallied in Kraljevo, central Serbia, a day after Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said he would step down within weeks following more than a year of student-led protests. Student-led anti-corruption protests have rocked Serbia ever since 16 people were killed in the 2024 collapse of a Novi Sad railway station. Protesters in Kraljevo did not directly address Vučić's remark, but said the fight would continue. The rally was held as temperatures topped 35 degrees. Levels clashed as dangerous by Serbia's Public Health Institute, with red warnings in place in parts of the Balkan country. Water and medical aid points were set up around the protest area. Vučić, who has dominated Serbian politics for more than a decade, has reportedly accused protesters of being foreign agents seeking to overthrow the government and has rejected calls for early elections. Canada are into the World Cup last 16 for the first time in their history after a dramatic 1-0 win over South Africa in Los Angeles. Stephen Estaquillo was the hero, striking on stoppage time to settle a tense knockout clash between the two sides, making their first appearance beyond the group stage. Canada dominated for long periods, but wasted several clear chances. Derek Cornelius missed a free header in the first half, while Moise Bombito's effort was cleared off the line before the break. South Africa defended deep and looked set to force extra time, with goalkeeper Rowan Williams producing key saves to keep the match level. Canada then sent on Alphonso Davies in the 75th minute, drawing a huge roar from the crowd. Davies immediately lifted Canada's attack, creating chances for Jonathan David and Promise David. But the breakthrough came in the 92nd minute. Jacob Schaffelberg raced down the right and crossed into the box. The clearance fell to Estaquillo, who chested it down and fired first time in the bottom left corner. Canada will now face either the Netherlands or Morocco in Houston on July 4th. Canada coach Jesse Marsh says his side's dramatic win over South Africa was built on discipline, patience and belief. Marsh has praised his players for staying calm and organized even as South Africa tried to slow the game down and frustrate them.
Head coach, and congratulations to the head coach Jesse Marsh.
We knew that being compact and being organized so that South Africa couldn't get themselves out into open spaces was going to be really important. And, we could have made life a little easier on ourselves if we would have made a play earlier when we had some big chances. But obviously the timing of the goal means that the win is incredibly dramatic, and I think the effect that it will have in Canada and the inspiring of people will be immense. So I'm really proud of our team, and I thought that it was an earned victory and a well-played match.
The Canada coach also paid tribute to match winner Estaquillo, calling him one of the most deserving players in the squad to enjoy such a defining moment. South Africa coach Hugo Broos, meanwhile, says his team can leave the World Cup with pride despite their late defeat. Bruce admitted his side were second best physically and struggled to match Canada's speed and power.
But at the other side, when we look back, I think we can be very satisfied of what we did. It was 24 years ago that South Africa could qualify for World Cup. We did it. Everyone hoped, and some expected that we should achieve the second round. We did it also. So, okay, we are disappointed, but we wanted to win, and it should be really a little miracle if we should have been in the third round. But we don't have to be too much disappointed again. What we did was good, and I'm very happy, I'm very proud of my team.
Tomorrow, 3 more round of 32 matches will take place, with Brazil facing Japan, Germany taking on Paraguay, and the Netherlands meeting Morocco. The main focus of tomorrow's matches will undoubtedly be on the clash between Brazil and Japan, as the 5-time world champions look to avenge last year or avenge last year's defeat and secure their place in the last 16. For Carlo Ancelotti, this is more than a knockout match. It is a chance to measure how far the team has come since a painful collapse in Tokyo last year. Brazil were beaten 3-2 by Japan in an October friendly after leading 2-0. That defeat came early in Ancelotti's tenure after the Italian had inherited a team short on stability and confidence.
It was a good experience for us to know that Japan is a really competitive team. They are one of the best teams in the world. They are number 17 in the ranking. They beat England in March, so we have completely, totally a full respect of them, and we prepare a game like a final, because it is a final.
Brazil now look very different. The defense that started in Tokyo is not in the World Cup squad, while the attack has found rhythm. Vinicius Jr. has scored 4 goals at the tournament, and Neymar has returned to the national team after 3 years out with persistent injuries. Japan, meanwhile, will also be changed from the team that stunned Brazil. Injuries have ruled out captain Wataru Endo, wingers Kaoru Mitoma and Takefusa Kubo, and forward Takumi Minamino, who scored in that October victory. The fixture also carries history. Brazil have long influenced Japan's football, most notably through Zico, who helped shape Japan's professional game and later coached the national team from 2002 to 2006. Now the two sides meet again in Houston, this time with no room for error. Moving on to tennis, Belgium's Zizou Bergs captured his first ATP Tour title, beating France's Hugo Humbert in a rain-delayed Eastbourne Open final. The 27-year-old fought back from a set-down to defeat Humbert 3-6, 6-1, 6-4. Humbert took the opening set after a key break, put him 5-3 ahead. But Bergs responded strongly in the second, finding confidence on serve and capitalizing as Humbert's error count rose sharply. Bergs raced through the second set 6-1, then kept the pressure on in the decider by attacking the sidelines and forcing Humbert into mistakes. The decisive moment came when Humbert sent a forehand wide, giving Bergs a break for 4-3 in the final set. Bergs then held his nerve on serve and sealed victory when Humbert found the net. The two players will not have long to wait for a rematch. Bergs and Humbert are set to meet again in the first round at Wimbledon.
Confirmation of the details for the coaching sessions. If you are booked onto one, please head to court 9 and our team will point you in the right direction.
And that wraps up World Today this time around. Don't forget to watch the FIFA World Cup 2026 live via MyTV and RTM Click's OTT platform for free. Hashtag Satu Bola Satu Dunia. Celebrate every goal, every moment, every emotion with RTM. Until next time, I'm Otto Othman. Salam Malaysia Madani and thank you for watching.